Hi guys, welcome to this small interview with Mr. Vinod John. Yes, it is an approach to case studies that we are doing over here, and I am just waiting for all my students to join in as fast as possible in order to be able to join me for an insight into what is a case study and how do you write a case study. And before that, I would like to introduce to you the guest for today. The guest for today is Mr. Vinod John. Yes, in order to say a little more about him and introduce him to my students, Mr. Vinod John is a senior management leader with close to 30 years of corporate leadership experience. He has led various multinationals across the world and worked extensively in Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and US markets. He specializes in education and workforce management industry verticals. He is currently the co-founder and managing director of Blue Element Technologies, a software technology company into workforce management. Vinod John is an electronic engineer from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore, and alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Indore. Welcome, Mr. Vinod John. And before I start off, I would also like to introduce myself. My name is Harpreet Kaur. I have done a master's in English literature. I have a diploma in journalism. Today I'm an educator on #CAT Live Daily. I request all my students who are joining Unacademy to please subscribe with my code HK10. Good afternoon, Mr. Vinod John, and just would like to get started. Please, can you tell my students how to go about doing a case study and what is the approach to doing a case study?
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you for having me over. I'm privileged to address students of Unacademy. Very happy to do that. So the topic given to me today has been about case study interviews. So I would like to take you through a few minutes of presentation on case studies. And after that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Shall I share a screen of my laptop about my presentation right now?
Please.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what is a case study? Why is case study interviews important? And how do we go about preparing for a case study? And what are the things that you need to keep in mind during this case study interview? Is something that I'll cover over the next few minutes. So typically most organizations today have a case study as a part of the interview process. There used to be group discussions, there'll be personal interviews, there'll be written tests, etc. But case study interviews has become very critical part of the interview process.
Yes.
Typically, a case study interview lasts anything between 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer. During this time, the candidates are briefed on a situation and then are asked to come up with a situation and analyze the situation and interact with the interviewer and give a solution. Most often, it is a very real-life client situation which you have to analyze and offer the best advice within a certain period of time. Sometimes you're given time to make a presentation. Sometimes you're just required to speak without a presentation. So it depends on how much time you have. Some of the case studies are extremely structured. Depends on the organization who's doing it. Some of them are very simple and not very structured and very easy, simple flowing. In many other words. So what is the objective of a case study? Typically, clients have a need to increase profits, or they want to use this case study as a marketing tool, or there's a very severe problem, an impending problem that they would like to solve, which is what they give to the candidate as a case study. And you're expected to analyze and understand that and come up with the appropriate solution. It's a very interesting, typically it's very interesting, very nice care situations are given to the candidates. And what the employers are looking for when you present that case study would be how curious you are in trying to find out the different data points in that case study. And then you look at how logically you can think through the whole process. What is your intuition? Did you pick up some very fine aspects of the case study? Did you analyze it properly? Did you have an analytical mind when you did it? And finally, Is your communication very clear? Did you have a lot of confidence in what you spoke? I must assure you that they don't expect you to crack the solution. That's not the one and only thing. It is all about how you, what was your thinking? Were you analytical? Did you try to solve the problem? Did you try to solve the problem? I wouldn't say, did you solve the problem? So you're not expected to actually solve the problem, but actually try to attempt to solve the problem. So what you require is a bit of storytelling. When you present your case study, it has to come out like a nice little story. It has to be very nicely presented, structured presentation. Data is the key. Look for all the data that is there. Pick up all the data, because every data that is presented is not given to you just like that. It is important information that's been given to you. Also look at what is the source of the information they've given you. They might tell you that based on a research we got this data. They might tell you based on employee feedback this data has come. They might tell you various things. Understand the source of the data. You might have some annexures and exhibits. Don't ignore the annexures and exhibits. These are also all very important part of your interview process. Now, how do you prepare for it? Number one, trust in your instincts. Like I said, there is no right answer. You need not have to give the perfectly right answer. There may be 100 answers. No one answer is the right answer. Just trust your instinct. If you think there's a solution, start preparing on that. Prioritize your time. Time is extremely critical. You don't have too much of time to do this. They are giving you just enough time to study, prepare, and present. So do not try and don't waste your time doing that. Be very concise. Keep it very short. You don't have to keep, just because I said storytelling, you don't have to keep rambling on about everything. Whatever facts are already there, you don't have to repeat those facts. It is your analysis that's more important.
Okay.
Next, do your math. Like I said, there is data there. Pick up all the data. Understand the data. You might need to do some analyzing the data. Be very, very specific in what you do with the data. Don't rush into performing calculations. Take your time on the data part. I'm telling you, that's very, very critical.
Okay.
Be very pragmatic. You should give a solution which is not very hypothetical. It has to be practical. Something that you are recommending to the company to implement. So it has to be pretty pragmatic. And you sometimes are given a chance to talk to your interviewer and ask some questions also to the interview before you actually present. So if you have that clarification time, use that time effectively. Write down the questions that you have. Write down the areas that you did not understand and ask the right questions. Some interviews, they do not give you the time to talk because it may be too short. Sometimes you have the time for clarifications. Use that time effectively. Then we go on to approach. How do you approach it? You have to drive each part of the interview, break it down into different parts. I'll take you to what are those different parts. Structure your analysis. Ask what are the questions I need to ask the interview, set it up. All the math you need to do, and final recommendation. These are all very important part of your process. Now, when you're given the case study, this is very, very important. Understand what that company is. What kind of company are we talking about? Analyze the company. Is there a mission or objective that they have mentioned about the company? What are the resources and competencies they have? What is the environmental problem that they are talking about? Is there a demographic information available? Is the problem that they're given you a social cultural problem? Is it an economic related problem? Is it a technology related problem? Is it a legal problem? Is it regarding competition? Is it regarding the portfolio analysis? This is very important for you to understand what are they trying to talk about. What is the company trying to tell you? You have to put them in one of these buckets. Very important for you to put them into one of these buckets. Then you break down the case study. Identify the issue they're talking about. What is the problem? Identify who are the stakeholders. Is it the customers? Is it the partners? Is it the internal to the organization? Is it the board? Is it the advisors? Is it the investors? And identify who are the stakeholders they're trying to address this problem about. Understand the approach taken so far. What kind of data is available? What is the source of information? Analyze the outcome. Understand the impact of the outcome. When you talk about the outcome, you have to understand what is the impact of the outcome that you're going to talk about. Then it is for you to break it down into a root cause analysis. What is the exact problem that is causing this issue? Then you have to put it into a framework. I'm going to take you through the framework.
Okay.
There are 7 questions that you have to keep in mind. First, the situation, understanding situation. I spoke about that. Number 2 is the framework development. Then the framework development is what is the basis on which I'm putting my questions and solutions to. Third is the framework exploration. Then it's a quantitative data provided. Fifth is if no data is provided. Sixth is bringing in creativity into your solution. And seventh is your recommendation. These are the 7 critical steps of your interview process. So let's look at the framework. This is very, very important for you to build when you're beginning your preparation for the interview. What are my clients' revenue streams? Are they talking about revenue? What percentage of revenue does this stream represent? Very important for you to understand. Have those percentages changed lately, whether it's gone up, gone down? Have the revenue stream been declining over the last 1, 3, 5, 10 years? Or has it been going up? You have to understand that. How is our client growing relative to the industry? Is your competition eating you up, or are you ahead of the competition? What is our market share in terms of sales? This is a typical framework you have to understand. These are the questions you need to quickly ask and find those answers in your case study. If you got this right, your presentation is going to be very, very easy.
Okay.
Next, some very typical questions that you will have to look for or answer as you go through the case study. What are the key factors that the company should consider in deciding whether to launch the product or not? This is a very typical question. What share of the market would the company need to capture in order to break even? Here, you need to have data analysis. What should the company do to gain market share? Which product would you pick to help scale the client's business? Which market should the client enter, and why should they enter this market and align with their strategy goals? How would you recommend the client to respond to a competitor? So these are all questions which I have faced, I have asked, I have been hearing about, and typically these are the standard questions that come up in your case study. And these are areas you need to prepare for, read through a few case studies, and you will see that many of the case studies will have this as your final question for which you are presenting your outcome. Again, a lot of questions that I don't want to go through each one of them. You can see here that some of them are very, very simple. Some of them are very complex. For example, a toy company has been experienced declined sales for the last 2 seasons. Research suggests that introducing several new product lines is a solution. Develop a marketing strategy for the company's latest product line, including pricing and product packaging, etc. This is a tough one. You need to do a lot more work. And normally they would give you little more time in this kind of situation. Maybe an hour or so they'll give you to preparing this, which is fine. I mean, you need to really, if you have done your management studies, you would probably know how to go about creating pricing, packaging, etc. So this is something that you can mostly do. In terms of price and quantity, questions around what is our client's pricing? Has the pricing changed? What is the pricing strategy? Many, many questions would come up as far as developing a framework. So when I'm saying this framework, this is the questions that you need to be prepared for, where you'll prepare your answers around. Around product marketing, strategies, who are my customers? How do we reach them? How will this product expand our customer base? Is there any data or research supporting the customers? Who are my main competitors? How will my competitors respond to this product? These are all market-related questions, marketing-related questions. Questions can come from anywhere, but prepare for many of these in such a way when you read through, prepare for different, looking at different case studies. These are areas you need to be prepared for, and you'll come up with the right answer for this. So what is a typical evaluation at the end of a case study? You know what the evaluator says? These are somebody will say, fantastic framework, touching all relevant issues, showed a plan on how to solve the problem beginning to end. Trust me, this candidate is through. He has done a fantastic job. The other evaluation is great job in performing a spontaneous reality check to the estimation. This guy is also through. The third one is important. He did not lead the case from all the insights he got after reading the chart. So that means he has presented well, he has done everything, but he has not done his insights into what is given to him already. The next, all her answers were backed by at least one layer of structure. Next, insights provided after calculating each number, which is super important. Lastly, she did a great job keeping the interview on board by doing her math. So if you look at all these things, it's all about how well you structured your framework. Did you go through insights? Did you collect all the data that is there? And did you present it? If you miss out on key elements, there may be some very key element which is underlying cause, which you didn't address it, then they're not going to be happy with however good a presentation you made. Right?
Yeah.
So let me wind up by saying important hints. Break the question down before you make your answer. Deconstruct the question. Understand the question very clearly. What is the interview trying to ask you and what is expected out of you? Break it into different parts. Ask yourself, why is it relevant? Does it fit the issue? Explain your reasoning. When you give a solution, you have to give them a reason why you have come up with this solution. You have to take your interviewer through the process of your reasoning. Regardless whether you commit a mistake, you will be still giving them the chance to see the reason. Like I said, maybe your solution is not the greatest. They don't expect you to be coming up with the best of solution. There are big companies to solve the problem for you. But did you understand the problem? Did you attempt to understand each and every data point that is given? And did you come up with a good reasoning? However uncertain you are, always come up with a very strategic answer. And that will give you winning points, even if the answer is not great or good. Listen to hints and leads. As an interviewer, they might give you a hint. You need to focus on that. You focus on the revenue aspect, not on the market aspect. Focus on the people. They'll give you certain hints. But always take hints. Keep open to, like I said, if the interviewer gives you time to ask some questions before you present, use that time effectively. And lastly, do not focus on finding the solution. It's all about how you broke down the case study so that you came up with the right framework and you presented well, very confidently. That's what matters, and that's what will give you the score. But basically, is my two-bit about what you can go through a case study interviews. At the end of the day, I think confidence is the key. You have to be very confident in what you present, and that's what will take you through.
Great. That was so detailed and insightful, Mr. Vinod John. I think we can invite some questions from the students. Hi, Shravan Kumar. I think you were interested in knowing more about the case study. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask from the expert panel here? Yes, anybody on the chat, guys, if you wish to ask a question, Mr. Vinod John is ready to answer the questions for you. Yes, any students wanting to know more about case study? I think Mr. Vinod John has done a very detailed PowerPoint presentation where all aspects have been covered in a very detailed fashion. And if there is anybody who wants to ask any more questions, the floor is open to you guys. Yes, Shravan. Yes, no questions, guys. Can we wind up? Or is there anybody wanting to ask any questions here?
Yeah, Preeti, you do have my email ID. In case anybody comes up with any question at a later point in time, feel free to send me the question on email.
Yes.
Or even if I can connect with the candidate directly and give them an answer. So okay. I'm happy to answer any of the questions at any point of time.
Yeah, sure. So then thank you so much. And anybody wanting to get in touch with Mr. Vinod John can at any point of time reach me. And I will share the email ID. And thank you so much for giving me your valuable time and so much of in-depth analysis of the entire case study. And thank you so much, students. And thank you everyone for being with me at in this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.